The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
With no sign of Thomas Waddingham back in full-time training, and Mackenzie Kirk still somewhat wet behind the ears, it seems certain that Pompey's search for a quality supporting number 9 for Colby Bishop is ongoing. In recent days, Patrick Bamford has been linked with a move to Fratton Park as a free transfer, and in that instance it was his possible unreliability due to injury issues, alongside his probable wage demands, that scuppered any further conversations. The new name that might be provoking interest amongst the recruitment team is that of former Nottingham Forest striker Emmanuel Dennis. Dennis arrived at Nottingham Forest from Watford as a 24-year-old, having played 85 games for Club Brugge, scoring 19 goals. He made 35 appearances for Watford, scoring 10, and then was subject of a high-profile transfer to Nottingham Forest in 2022. The sum involved was rumoured to be in the region of £10 million. However, Dennis proved a poor fit for Forest, making only 19 appearances in 3 seasons, and only scoring twice. He found himself loaned to Istanbul, followed by Watford, and then Blackburn Rovers. His contract with Nottingham Forest has not been renewed. Emmanuel Dennis' agent is Drew Uoyi, who is known to strike a hard bargain and could be a potential stumbling block in any negotiations. However, a championship side showing interest in Dennis will be in a position to counter claims about his credentials by drawing attention to the fact that he is currently not the striker that he once was. However, under the circumstances, he and his team might be interested in a new start with a forward-looking coaching staff, and take a pay cut on the chin.
Dennis is muscular and athletic. And in his day, he was very explosive. And he could hit the ball and he could head the ball big, and he was a presence. He's Nigerian. And I do remember in his biography, Harry Redknapp saying, I think in his biography, it might have been in an interview, he said that from time to time on the training ground at Pompey, he used to play Africans versus the rest. If you remember, the Harry Redknapp team had a number of outstanding players from that continent. And he said the Africans always won. Now, it's not racist to point this out. I've done my thinking on it, because if you divide players up into countries of their geographical allegiance and call that racist, then all international football's racist, which it isn't. Certainly not on the pitch anyway. So it's valid and reasonable to point out all of a player's credentials and merits. And Dennis is a handful. And if he can rediscover what people often call his mojo, then he would be a hell of an acquisition. We get him on a free, but of course there'd be a signing on fee or a golden hello or whatever it is they do. And his wage bill won't be small, but on the other hand, it can be negotiated. Clearly, he was probably on a very good remuneration with Nottingham Forest, which would have been, their wage bill for him would have been mitigated by him being loaned out to the likes of Blackburn and Watford, 2 clubs that aren't short of a little bit of money. Pompey aren't short of money, but they don't go flashing the cash when it comes to wages, don't like to do it. You can pick up free transfers and pay them sensible amounts of money, and they can turn out to be absolute, golden. Williams and Murphy are 2 that most recently strike one as having those credentials. So the likelihood of Emmanuel Dennis being discussed amongst the recruitment team at Pompey that's almost a certainty, because they will be looking at free transfers who are available, and Dennis is one that's high up the list because of his former, I'm going to say, glories. I think if it's just rumoured that you were transferred for £10 million, never mind about it if it was a considerable amount of money less than that. But if the rumour has stuck that you were a £10 million player with a £10 million tag that somebody met, then obviously there was a time when you were a seriously fancied footballer. And however, he hasn't been able to quite make it click. Our recruitment team and our coaching staff have worked wonders with players who weren't really quite able to make it tick at their home club. I mean, Andre Dezelle is probably a real case in point. So many fans sadly labelled him a QPR reject when he arrived, and now he is rapidly becoming one of the first names on the team sheet for a starting position. So we can bring players on. There's no question about that. Whether Emmanuel Dennis has the capabilities of wanting to develop and learn and improve his game at the ripe old age of 27, that's a matter for Pompey's recruitment team to make a judgment on. But it would certainly be exciting, and it would certainly add a huge new edge of a dimension to our strike force to bring in a player like him. Will it happen? We think it's absolutely no more likely than Patrick Bamford. So almost certainly, in fact, no, I think we'll go so far as to say no. But as with all things in life, it's nice to dream.
Looking ahead to Saturday, opponents Leicester are getting short shrift from large sections of their fan base. The website Foxes of Leicester pinpoints 2 areas of the pitch where they say recruitment is urgently required.
At the back, we've struggled to maintain clean sheets, and with a severe lack of pace, can crumble under intense pressure from explosive forwards. This has led to plenty of chances against Jakub Stolarczyk, although the Foxes have not been heavily punished for this failure yet. We have options at the back, but Cifuentes seems to distrust Ben Nelson, and has identified Wout Faes and Yannick Vestergaard as our best choices. Caleb Okoli too did little wrong, although not particularly impressive. They of course make up most defensive contributions, but lack creative input for the most part. Casting a gaze forward, that supposedly clinical core striker has myriad options to fulfill the primary mover, to score. We have Jordan Ayew, Patson Daka, and the on-loan Julian Carranza. Yet, the permanent pair's contracts are nearing their expiration in the next summer window, and Carranza has yet to make a lasting mark on the team. We have options but none long-term and, as I will illustrate below, none particularly impactful.
So this is a large part of Fox's fan base, a large and influential slice of their fan base, representing no doubt the views of a great many Leicester fans, that they are very weak down their spine in the middle. They say they're all right for fullbacks and they're all right for wingers, and their midfield they say is good. But surely centre-back, or backs, and centre-forward, striker, number 9, call it what you will, are 2 of the 3 crucial spine positions on the pitch. Obviously the goalkeeper makes it 4, but on the pitch it's centre-backs, central midfield and central striker. And what they're saying is that their centre-backs are slow, distinct lack of pace, and just as promising for Pompey, they crumble under pressure. So this is good news for Colby Bishop and everybody else who fancies his chances of scoring a goal from a central position against Leicester on Saturday. Their centre-backs are slow and crumble under intense pressure. So let's respond to that. It might only be fans' views, but fans' views are often pretty accurate, and you'll never hear the head coach saying the same things that the fans are saying about their own team. They also reckon that they can't score goals. And if you look at the numbers, they can't score goals compared to some of the teams around them towards the top of the championship. And they reckon that they're going to need to bring in a striker. And the fact that they've got 10, 15 million euros or pounds or whatever you need, or more, in order to do that, that's one thing that we can be envious of. But they can't do anything until January. So we've got no reason to envy their strength in depth up front when we go up to them on Saturday, and our centre-backs will obviously pull out all the stops so that we might keep another clean sheet. That would be something, wouldn't it, against Leicester? Or would it? The fans are saying they haven't got anybody who can score goals, and at the other end of the pitch, they haven't got any centre-halves who can prevent the opposition from scoring goals. So is this another reason to be cheerful? Better ask Ian Dury. Oh, sorry, that was seriously Alan Partridge. After a 5-2 defeat to that lot up the road, Pompey Sound and Express FM's Dan Shaw spoke to Jay Sadler, coach, and asked him if there was any uneasiness in the camp. 5 defeats from 6 games.
Yeah, no, there's no panic mode, absolutely no panic mode. We're understanding that obviously players now, in moments, they need rest. A lot of these need rest, physically, mentally, they need a rest, and unfortunately we haven't got the options to do so. They made 6 changes midweek, we've made 1, and we've done it again today, and a lot of the players we're seeing towards the back end of the game, you could see it from the stands probably that 2 or 3 of them probably we needed fresh impetus to try and stay in the game, to chase the game. We haven't got it, so I think importantly, they're obviously human beings and they're probably going to need that emotional rest, because it does take its toll when you're losing games of football as a professional football player, as a professional club. But no, there's no need to hit the panic button. I've seen enough quality from the players that will get us out, but obviously we want to get points on the board early than what we did last year.
Jay Sadler was talking to our Dan Shaw. There is no doubt that the women and the men's team at Portsmouth tend to travel in parallel, gaining promotion from the 3rd tier to the 2nd tier in the same season, starting their first season in the 2nd tier not so well, and then coming good and avoiding relegation, both the men and the women. This season, the men have made a slightly better start than the women. There's no two ways about that. But once again, Sadler is standing firm, reminding us that we are now a professional women's club, and that what we achieved last season, we can achieve this season. He's trying to protect his players, who are a bit thin on the ground at the moment as a result of injury. So we're back to the parallels between the men's team and the women's team. However, it's definitely a case of onwards and upwards for Jay and Pompey women.